How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the ALGS Championship preview show. All access questions with prediction. Today, I'm joined by five-time ALGS champion. I'm Madness. You can see him on my left, your right. So, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming. I'm going to kick it off to Madness right now.
Hey guys, so I'm really excited today. We are partnering with Prediction, and we're going to be they're running this event, which I'm really excited about. Basically, to give you guys a quick rundown of the event, it is an ALGS championship preview show. So we're going to be mainly focusing on like competitive Apex, ALGS stuff. But this is an opportunity for anyone. Once we get through the questions submitted, for those who purchase tickets, we will later go towards Twitch chat. But we'll be answering any questions competitive, anything about Apex, Legends, ALGS, stuff like that. Anything really regarding the game, but mainly focusing on ALGS and competitive. Towards the end, again, we'll open it up to answering more in-depth questions about, maybe improving your gameplay, stuff like that. But main priority is we're going to be focusing on those who purchase tickets on Prediction to gain access to the show. Those will be answered first. We might have people who will be stopping in to actually vocally ask their questions. I think we might have one or two people that are doing that. I'm not sure, but we're going to be prioritizing those who bought tickets into access to the event. And then throughout the show, we'll be, answering Twitch chat questions throughout. That's kind of the rundown of the show. And it's not super serious. We're just going to chill, hang out, have some casual fun, answer questions, and just hang out and have some fun. So we're going to figure out here in a bit where get the first question that was submitted, and then we can start rolling. But
actually,
we
just got a question. Can we still purchase tickets? If someone purchased a ticket right now, do they still have time to get entered into the event, or is it too late? That is a good question. Just before we start getting deep into it,
I was told, yeah, you can. I was told, yes, you still can. Get timed out.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I get perms real quick? I'm gonna try to put the link to buy tickets in the chat right now in case anyone wants to join us that was unaware.
Yes, anybody who's interested in stopping in and purchasing a ticket, you can ask a question. You can join via voice if you guys would like to. That would be preferred. But if not, if that's not something you're comfortable with, you're more than happy to purchase a ticket and submit a question that way, and you guys can ask through that.
Okie dokie. So we got a couple people in the holding room. Are we going to chit chat it up, wait for people to buy some tickets first, or should we start going with the questions now? Okie dokie.
But
yeah, go ahead.
So I've been actually really excited for this event. We've actually been talking about this for a few months, actually, or about a month, I would say. The Renegades GM Josh came to me and said that he wanted to produce a show, and we were going to be partnering with Prediction and working with them on this and creating this event, which I was super excited about. And they asked me, who do you have anyone that you want to host a show? If not, like, we have people. And I was like, well, if it was possible, I would love to have the show hosted with my best friend Weary. Is because if you guys are familiar with my streams, obviously I'm streaming, so you probably know Sam, and we're just best friends, and we have been for like 5-6 years at this point. So I just figured it'd make it a lot more like chill, easier, not like some weird forced interview kind of situation.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot less pressure too, because like a lot of people that are going to be joining us and talking with us probably have already heard my voice before, and at some point when we were playing something, so it'll be more comfortable for everyone around the board. So I'm stoked. I'm excited to talk to some people and see what questions they have and reminisce about your competitive career so far. Talk about where it's going to go in the future.
Yeah. So with that being said, hopefully we can get into some questions here in a second, and we can start kind of getting in the groove of all of that. But like I said, the questions that we're going to be answering and talking about today are going to be completely solely related to Apex competitive, ALGS Championship related questions, previews on what we think, how that's all going to go. I need to pull up and see if I can figure out where my predictions are coming. So I can get this pulled up. So we will start with my overall prediction on championship. So let me pull that up and get everything listed. This is actually going to be a kind of a fulfilled event. There's a lot of days of things going on. If you guys haven't looked into the schedule at all, um, it's like 3 days, 3 straight days. It's 4 days total, 3 straight days, um, of just qualifications. If you guys haven't looked into it that much, um, you have the group stage on the 7th, which is the day one. If you guys don't know, so that's gonna be about 4 days starting from now, and that'll be day one of the ALGS Championship. That's kind of gonna determine who is um gonna be in winners and losers bracket, and then once that gets determined, so long story short, 40 teams are gonna be battling it out on the 7th, the first day of the group stage. The top 20 teams will be moving on to the winners bracket, and that will start the bracket system going forward. And then the bottom 20 obviously will be in the losers bracket, and then you have the bracket stage from the July 8th to the 9th. It'll be 2 8-game series for each bracket, and then that will then lead to the finals on the 10th. So you have 3 days of qualifications, and that's kind of intense. That's going to be a lot for some people.
So who are your favorites, Madness? Who do you what are your top 3 teams that you think are going to perform the best, given that you probably have the most experience and knowledge with these players and with these teams? Who do you think is going to do the best and succeed, other than yourself? Because obviously you're going to win, right? So, other than yourself,
nice. Yeah, I think probably North America is going to be top 3. I definitely think I really want to see if I think the big like what if is going to be if Reignite can perform as well as they did in playoffs without their actual with their roster. They won playoffs too with just a sub. So it's going to be like interesting to see if when they have their actual third player now, and or if they're going to perform worse, like if that chemistry is just going to be kind of off, because who knows, they might have found like a hidden gem or whatever. But I think Reignite's definitely going to be the wild card. I definitely think they're capable of placing top 5. I thought Luminosity really was able to pull 5th place at playoffs too. Is very impressive. I think that puts them in a really solid wild card position. Very, very underrated team, and it was really cool to see them kind of be that like dark horse kind of situation. I think based on like scrims, from what I've been seeing, it seems like Team Liquid hasn't been doing insanely well in scrims, but again, they weren't doing that well in tournaments and then got second place in playoffs. I think it's probably safe to say Optics should place pretty well. I would be excited to see Reignite do well. I definitely want to say there's going to be a strong EU team that comes out on top. Alliance, teams like that of the sorts, and yeah, I think it's probably going to be a NA dominated team. Which one I don't know, but I think it can be mainly NA dominated.
Yeah. Did you see any teams using like team comps that are not necessarily the meta? Is there anyone kind of trying to stick out, or is everyone sticking to the same 3 legends to try to guarantee themselves success?
So that's a good question, because I definitely think, as some people in chat were saying, Furia is probably going to be the only standout team that's going to be running Seer. But I don't know if I would necessarily say that Furia would probably be the only standout team at this point, because one, at least with Seer, assuming they run Mad Maggie at LAN, but just with Seer was kind of that like wild card pick that they pulled out during the qualifications, and did extremely well with it when no one else was running it. But now a little bit of time has shifted. We've seen that Seer has come into meta a lot more, and he's become a lot stronger of a legend, and he's kind of been more of a threat. So with that being said, I don't know if they're going to be as like standout, but something that I did notice about LAN that I knew was going to happen, but wasn't sure who would do it, So you'll see a lot of people, if you guys are invested in Apex Legends competitive, you'll see throughout like scrims, smaller tournaments and stuff like that, you'll see like all these big name teams or even like smaller teams too. They'll start running like weird comps that don't make sense at all, and they'll try and like Bangalore and stuff like that. And everyone's like, "Oh my god, they're gonna be running Bangalore at LAN, like all this crazy stuff." And then you go to LAN, and they're not running at all. I think TSM is a good example. You know, they were in scrims doing things like they were running like Horizon, um, Seer, all these crazy comps. And then when LAN came, they stuck to like the old reliable LAN comp, which was at first, at least, until they switched, I think, at one point, but they were doing Ash, Bloodhound, Gibby. Like that was literally just that is the bare bones, like backbone, like comp that is like all reliable basically. So it's weird to see so many people try these like weird metas and be like, yeah, we're doing it at LAN, we're doing it at LAN, and then they just like don't. So I'm not sure. It's hard to answer that one.
So since you've played at LAN before and won at LAN before, um, and I was there in person, do you think there's a different pressure that comes from a LAN tournament versus an online tournament, or is it still the same pressure and expectation online or LAN when it's for a big money tournament?
I think the expectation is kind of the same, but I do it's completely different. And I think at this point, since we finally had a LAN tournament with playoffs too, for the first time in Apex competitive in 3 years, I'm sure you can ask any of those players that have been playing the game for a long time, you know, what was that experience like? How does it compare to online? I'm sure every single player on that LAN roster list will tell you, yeah, it's just nothing like online tournaments. It's a completely different environment because not only are you there's lights on you, there's you can hear like casters in the background, you have ears plugged in with like airplane headphones on. You're not even at your own computer environment. You're not where you're comfortable. You're, you know, at least when I was in LAN, like Poland, for example, like we were just sitting in like terrible sweating heat for like 12 hours at a time. The food was terrible. And yeah, it was not a good experience. I'm sure they definitely ramped it up because it's been 4 years. I didn't actually get to hear how much like of an experience it was, but obviously we got to saw the set in playoffs too. The set looked freaking awesome, way better than like a huge step up. I mean, the Poland land was really cool. The setup was really nice. But yeah, it's not something you can prepare for. I would say something that did help me a lot and I felt like helped a lot was actually streaming. Um to stream to an audience of a lot of viewers, and especially at that time when my channel was growing a lot more, I had hundreds of viewers, sometimes even thousands of viewers in my channel. And that like pressure of knowing thousands of people are watching you, some people it can be intimidating at first. Like when you're just starting out streaming and you're starting to see those numbers go up, that can be intimidating. Or you get like some kind of big raid and it's like, holy crap, like I don't know what to do. Like I had 10 viewers 2 minutes ago and now I'm at like 500. Like
Yeah.
some people get in their head about that a lot. I don't think that it's that intense. I think over time you just get adjusted to it. You become comfortable. And I think that was one thing that kind of helped me prepare for LAN because I just kind of got in that mindset is like, you know, I have hundreds of people watching me online at home. So it's not much different than having hundreds of people watch me in person. You know, it's not terribly different. But the pressure it's a weird thing in the air. It's you can feel it. Pressure is insane. It's very heavy for sure.
Yeah, so with the past few years, I'm actually gonna piggyback off of chat here. Past few years, there hasn't been able to be any LAN tournaments because of everything that happened with the pandemic and all that stuff like that. So, what do you feel the new players to LAN are going to experience? Because you have people like you, and there are a lot of teams that played before the pandemic at a LAN tournament. Do you think it's going to be a struggle trying to get accustomed to that new environment for people who never have played at a LAN before but have been playing competitively? Or is it going to be just the same as any old tournament? They're just at a different setup.
That's really hard to say because I mean that's like it's a solid question because So looking at playoffs too, and we haven't had LAN. We didn't have LAN up until recently, for like the last 4 years. And you saw it's like a shakeup. It's kind of like a wild. You don't really know what's gonna happen because, for example, like when LANs were a thing, TSM was the most dominant team in the game. They were winning everything when LAN was like a thing, right? And uh this time LAN came around and they got sixth, which is not a bad placement by any means. They still walked away with $45,000, which is 15 grand each, which is still like solid to walk away from. That's not a top 10, close to top 5. It's not a terrible day. That's not something that you should be ashamed of, at least at a LAN situation
I'd
with
take
like
it.
$2 million on the line, right? But you have teams like Team Liquid who have no LAN experience other than Nocturnal. Nocturnal was the only one that had LAN experience because he's been on Team Liquid for longest time with the original roster, right? At Poland. So he was the only one on that roster that had LAN experience. Fun didn't, and neither did Guild, to my knowledge, at least inside of an Apex sense, right? So with that being said, it was really interesting to see them play second place, and even in if I remember correctly, I can see if I can find the stats here. If I remember correctly, they won in their group stage, they were farming. Like they did extremely well, even in their group stage. Round 1, they got first place. Round 2, they got second, and then round 3, they got sixth place. Which overall, that would average to probably like what, like an average placement of like third or something, third or fourth, which is not bad at all. They have no LAN experience. So it's kind of up in the air. It's really how they handle those emotions. The same thing goes with Optic Gaming. I don't think anyone on that roster has experience with LAN. Dupe and Skittle were new to the game. They just started playing in competitive right like after COVID hit with the original signing to I think they were on Team Razor, I believe, on Esports Arena, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong on that. But anyways, let me see if I can actually figure that out because I don't want to mess that up. This should be on here. Intel. It was Intel. It was Team Intel. They started doing really well. Then they got signed to ESA. They got signed to ESA, by the way. If anyone doesn't know why they got signed to Esports Arena, from my understanding, it's actually pretty simple. When there was a qualification for, I think, some major champion playoff tournament or something like that, Team Intel was the literal only team out of every signed team that Esports Arena signs out of like all those partners. They were the only one that made it to that LAN, or not the LAN, sorry, the like major, whatever it was at that time, because it was like over a year ago, so I don't remember what it was. But since they were the only team that qualified, I think it was ALGS Split 1 for Pro League. They were just like, well, since we only have one team, let's just Esports Arena tag it. So that's kind of how Esports Arena came from that. But yeah, long story short, Optic Gaming did not have a bad performance at all. Pulled out a 4th place at LAN. No LAN experience. Luminosity, 3-stack roller, so it's not really hard for them anyways. I don't think they have controllers, or they don't. I don't think they have LAN experience. Energy got 7th, kind of up in the air. And Sweet has LAN experience. Cloud9 is a roster that, if you want to solely talk about LAN experience, did underperform. They got 10th. Not a bad placement at the end of the day, but for a 2 or 3rd roster, because I don't think Naughty does, Zach and Alb have plenty of LAN experience, so I kind of expected a little bit more out of them. Alliance as well. 100 Thieves was a very surprising roster. Did well at LAN. I'm just pointing things out that just kind of like cater towards this question. I think SSG, Space Station Gaming, I think Rexon dropped again. They've had LAN experience since the game came out. I remember when I first got signed to CLG, and my first event was X Games, and both of them were there. I think Frex was signed to, oh man, I think it was Luminosity. I think, or was it original C9? Oh, now I'm curious. I gotta find out. Let me look. It's gonna drive me. It was Cloud9. It was Cloud9 with Grego and, oh my god, what was his name? Grego and OP. Oh my lord.
Jeez, what was that?
Anyways,
3 years ago, 4 years ago?
Yeah, it's been a long time. So yeah, long story short, to just wrap that up, it's really a wild card. I think teams with LAN experience have a higher probability and are a safer bet on doing well and performing. but you never know what team is going to shake things up. You never know what team is going to actually find that groove. And it's also important to remember, not only are they about finding comfortability and confidence, because that is the major key, it's also about like, we play a BR. There's RNG. There's randomness. There's things that we cannot control. And sometimes for these teams that don't have the experience, things can just go well for them. They get a good zone pull. You know what I mean? They it's random. They might get lucky. So, things happen like that. But Sam, I think we have our first question.
So we have our first question from a ticket holder. Their alias is going to be Satellite here. So I think it looks like we got Satellite in here already. Satellite, is that you that I'm hearing right now?
Yeah, maybe. Hello, good evening.
How you doing?
Hello, what's
Hey,
up?
Welcome to
hey,
the
Matthias,
show.
what's up, dude? What's up? Hey,
What's
guys.
good?
Hello, good evening. Yeah, well, like, the first question is a little bit deep. Like, as a competitive player, the most of the players, in my opinion, are struggling with the mood and the vibing. Like, for a big tournament, like what's upcoming right now, like, it's a lot of money. Oh dear, like, so much money. Pretty much nobody is earning that amount in 1 year. Like, are you a little bit nervous? Like, I mean, how do you deal with this pressure? I mean, like, you have your fixing costs, you have family madness, and like, how do you deal with this kind of pressure? Like, you have to place yourself in, yeah, you need to do something, you need to perform well, stuff like this. Like, how do you deal with this pressure, and what you're gonna do if the tide is going away and the mood is dropping down? Like, for example, in Ranked, like, I'm a, yeah, I will not say like a huge fan, but like, I'm watching your YouTube stuff, and like your aiming guides, it inspires me and stuff like this, watching you here and there on Twitch and stuff, and learned a lot, but about the mentally factor as well. And like, I'm wondering, what are you guys doing on this high level of Apex? Like, if something is not gonna went well, and the pressure, and you have 10 20 bad games or a bad day, like, how do you deal with it? Like, not as you mentioned in your videos, like, you have the one guy who's cheering up everybody and yeah, let's go, come on, we got it.
Yeah.
We got it. Like, how do you deal with all this mentally pressure? Like, it's, for me myself, it's not so easy to understand.
Yeah,
That's a great
So-
question.
that's actually a great question. I feel like there's a lot of information that people can take away from that question. So to start, there's a lot of things that, first of all, actually, before I get this out of the way, I really appreciate you for not only being here, and purchasing a ticket, and just, all supporting prediction and stuff like that, but most important, like, I really appreciate you supporting me. And that really does mean a lot to me and my career. So thank you for that.
No, you're welcome.
So what I want to really get into is, that is a good question, and that's true. That's a very good question, because we're getting into the point to where these LAN tournaments, like, first place for championship in 5 days is $500,000. If you're looking at splitting that between 3 people, that is $133,000 that you would be roughly getting. That is life-changing money. That is like, you put that away, that's like a third. I don't know, not in today's economy. I was gonna say, like, that can buy a house, but I'm like, I was gonna say a third of a house. I was like, nah, like, houses are stupid busted right now, but
It'll get you a good
that's
loan.
it. That's the
Yeah.
big shot. That's it.
Yeah, but anyways,
lot
yeah,
of money.
you can take care of yourself. You can take care of yourself for a long time. That gives you time. That gives you comfortability. That gives you a fallback, just protection. So yes, there is a lot to think about. But the most important thing is, I can promise you, is like, the players that do well at LAN are not thinking about that. Because if I'm at LAN and I'm thinking, dude, if I throw this game, I'm not making 100, like, I'm not making 500K. If that's what you're thinking, you are gonna die so fast. You're gonna panic. You're gonna lose your concentration. You're not gonna be able to think correctly. So what a lot of the players do in the pro scene, and the way they manage that is you need to try your best to just put yourself in your own element. Imagine it's just a regular online tournament. Obviously take it seriously, don't troll, but you put yourself in a space where it's like you're just playing. Play the game that you know how to play, perform how you know how to perform, and let the rest do itself. And for example, for me, that I can actually tap into my own past experience for was it champs? Whatever that trophy up there got me. Playoffs, I think. when we were on match point and we knew we had to just win the game to win the entire tournament. What I genuinely just shut my brain off. I did not think about the money at all, because you need to understand, like, if you are meant to win, you will win. If you're meant to win and you have practiced, you let that win come to you. And I was not thinking about the money, because the whole time I'm sitting in this top like 82 in the end game with Team Liquid above us, and it's like top 3. I'm like trying so hard to think, like, dude, I need to focus on winning this. I cannot think about this money, because if we close this out, this would be huge. And that was after coming off of an ALGS win previously. After that, we were winning everything. So long story short, what I'm trying to say is, me and other pro players, what they will do is they will just try to shut that part of their brain off. Like, do not allow those thoughts to come in about the money. Just do what you have, that you know you've practiced. You know, do what you know you've worked for.
Do I could interrupt you? Like, if it is pretty much, excuse me, my bad English. It is pretty much like just like playing your cards. You know, like for example, like you and your team, you're pretty decent fraggers. I've seen it in all of your streams. Like repositioning yourself, stuff like this. Like, is it pretty much like just playing down your way of playing the game and trusting in your teammates, like and just making your own show and putting away all that pressure, all what's next to you? Like, what about the bills of the houses, or what about the kids, or stuff like this? Like, you're just making your show right here, and you're focusing right now, and you're just put everything beside. Like how do you do it? Like how do you dive into that mood, into that feeling? Like I'm here right now, I'm just playing my cards on the table, this is my table, I'm doing my thing, and this is how it goes, and that's gonna end well and stuff. Like how do you put yourself into this kind of mood? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing that helped me specifically is it's important. What's helped me in the past when I've won tournaments is I just get in this mindset of, if I'm meant to win, if I'm meant to be successful, if I'm meant to pop off, it'll happen. And with that knowing in mind, it's everything else is just about learning, right? So if I don't perform and I don't pop off, it's a learning experience. And I walk away from that wondering, what did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? And what should I know for the future? I think that's a big thing. And I'm sure you can even, I don't know, I feel like I have a video where we talk about our winnings or show our winnings. And there's points where I've said that, like, I say that, you know, if we're meant to win, we will. Especially on a match point format. I usually just say play for second. If we win, we win. You know, but that, like, you're right. Like you just there's a lot to think about. And what's helped me is, like I said, is that mindset of just knowing if I'm meant to win, I will. You know, I don't think about the money. I just try not to, you know, put myself in the headspace of let whatever is meant to happen. Don't force it. Don't do all these crazy things, and don't let the pressures come to you. Just relax, do everything that you've practiced and everything that feels natural to you. And again, if you feel confident in the work you've been putting in, you will provide results. It's just you really need to just shut yourself off and not focus too hard. It's like when I'm trying to think of a good example, but it's just something along the lines when you really want a team to win, you have you have money on the line, you bet on the team, you know, whatever, like they need to win. I don't care about anything else. Like, you cannot allow yourself to be in that kind of mindset. You just need to say, like, well, if they win, they win. They don't. Everything in this space, you have time. Something that's helped me a lot is when we've underperformed in tournaments. I feel like, wow, this is over. That was my only chance. You know, but something that has really helped bring me back is to realize there's going to be more tournaments. There's going to be more opportunities to win. There's going to be more opportunities to prove myself, and more importantly, more opportunities to learn. And I think knowing that there's always a second chance, there's always more tournaments. As long as the game's going, there's going to be tournaments. And you know, it's even for now, for your circumstance specifically, when you're talking about LAN and all that pressure and the amount of money, you can even look at the same scenario. This is not going to be the only Apex LAN. This is not going to be the only finals, you know. And if this is what you enjoy doing, then you'll have more opportunities to make the money, and you'll have more opportunities to grow. So again, it's just important to not look at it as like, this is the only chance I'll ever get in my entire freaking lifetime. You know, there'll be more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I hope that
exactly.
explains it well, though. I hope that
Yeah.
answers your question.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I have one or two other questions.
Okay.
For example, like what drives your passion about Apex? Like becoming one of the best fraggers into Apex, into the Apex scene. Like not only far away from USA, like as well in Germany. We are here, know your name. Like we are watching, we are seeing you're one of the best fraggers, not even in Ranked, as well in ALGS, and not in my age only. Like I'm 28, but there are like 70, 16 years killed. Like I can talk to on Twitter or in stream, and they ask, "Yo, Madness, dude! Like, what is this guy? Who is this? Like." Tell me, and
Yeah.
like, where does it come from? Before you met your wife, or after it? And she says like, "Oh, video games? Nah, I don't like it." Where did this love for Apex comes from? What makes your passion? Like, how did it become like that? You're so driven into Apex. Like you
I
never
think
told on YouTube. Not so far.
Yeah. So I think it just comes from the fact that there's just nothing else out there that is as nothing, and that's the way Apex. That's the reason Apex is still a game that is doing as well as it's doing, and it's why it's continuing to be such a successful game. Is because there's nothing else on the market that is that fast paced. You know, I tried getting into competitive shooters before Apex. Like I tried, you know, Fortnite competitive a little bit. I got into Rainbow Six Siege competitive a little bit. It was just too slow paced for me. I did not like the feel, the movement, and I just did not like the way the game was played at the top kind of level. And when I got to experience Apex, it was this fast pace. It's all about insanely fast reaction time, like tracking. It's just fast. It's not slow. There's nothing slow about it. It's a quick experience that is, it just, you get satisfaction so quick. It's so quick to get that dopamine rush of just killing somebody so quickly compared to other games. And I think that's just one of the sole reasons that it's just been awesome to learn. And it just started as that passion. Like I said, it was fun and it was something new. And eventually I just got really freaking good at it. And it felt so good to just roll people all the time. So it was awesome. It was a great experience. And I think it's just because, like I said, there's nothing else out there. I love competitive shooters. I always have. I played CSGO for years. And it just was the first time something felt natural. You know, I didn't have to put these hours, ungodly hours, forcing myself. I just naturally did it. The game just felt natural to me from the very beginning, from the first time I played it. And I think that's just the main reason. I kind of got lucky because I'll be honest, my passion for games dies very quickly. Any game that I've ever played, like I said, CSGO, Rainbow Six Siege, Fortnite, any kind of game, I get bored of them very quickly. The fact that I've been able to put almost 6,000 hours into a game over the last 4 years is mind blowing to me because I've never been that addicted to a game in my entire life.
A lot of hours.
Yeah.
A lot of hours.
Well, that's kind of crazy. Like I played myself a lot of CS:GO, but sadly they changed the sounds of the guns, and then I switched from CS:GO to Rainbow Six Siege. But I left this game as well, and then I came to Apex, playing it since season 1. with a little bit of a stop. World's Edge, I don't like it. I know you're gonna hate me for this now, but I'm the one guy who's saying World's Edge is not my map. I don't like it. It's pretty ugly. It's ugly. It's not bad to play, but it's ugly. You know, and everybody
get it.
like beautiful women, and so I like my maps. Beautiful. And not as
Yeah.
ugly as World's Edge. I'm
That's
sorry.
fair.
But yeah, that's fair. Exactly. Yeah, but
All right, but yeah. So let's get to your last question, and then we want to answer some Twitch questions, and then I think we already
yeah,
have
of
someone
course,
else that
of
wants to
course.
stop in.
Yeah, what do you think is gonna happen after this upcoming tournament? Like, where will be a Renegade be? What about your future? What do you think? Where will you be? Like in like, I know it's unfair question, something you're asking your employees, you know, in a big company, stuff like this. But like we're all, and I'm especially interested in like what will be in 2 months, in 1 month. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So this is the I know the Apex scene's pretty surprised by it, but I think Sykes does not have a lot of tier 1 experience in competitive, but
But
he
you're doing
is
well.
yeah, but he is very quickly learning how to perform in that competitive environment. And me and Pau feel like it's worth taking that investment onto him and teaching him and showing him, kind of like how the
Yeah,
original
you
CLG
you say
was.
you say it on your last video on YouTube,
Yeah.
like this is the way you go, like a vibing squad, and like the chemistry is working out, and like everybody is yeah, working together, and how much potential do you see in it?
Yeah, I think once we nail everything down, and already like we've gotten small glimpses in the high tier lobbies of performing. I think this is easily a roster that can be top 10, top 5 in North America, no problem. Just competitive needs to start up again so we can actually prove that, because there's
Yeah,
nothing going on.
sure.
So, but yes, I think in a few months' time, once ALGS hopefully starts back up, there's nothing announced yet as far as when the next season of ALGS starts. But once it does start back up, I'm very confident that this is going to be a roster that is top 5, no doubt, for sure. But I think hopefully that wraps everything up and answers all your questions.
Yes,
For real,
yes.
thank you so much for supporting me. It really means a
Oh,
lot, and thank you for being here.
thank you for having me here, and like for the opportunity you gave me
Yeah.
on Twitter. Like, thanks a lot. Big shout
Of course.
out, and yeah, thanks a lot, Madness.
Yeah, of course.
Gonna
Take
see
care.
you
See
soon.
Yep.
Have
See
a
ya.
good one,
Bye.
Satellite. Thank you so much for coming. So we got a question from actually the prediction chat. We are going to be answering questions from Twitch chat here in a minute. But this first question from the prediction chat. So this is for you, Madness. Hello, this is a cool event. Glad to be a part of this. There's been a rise in non-Gibby comps during scrims recently. Do you think that will last and we'll see some variety at LAN? Or do you think everyone will end up reverting back to Valk Gibby Flex?
Yeah, so that's kind of an answer. That's kind of a question that we were talking about a little bit earlier, and I definitely think more so. Yes, that's going to be how that's going to turn out. I think you're just seeing people do these weird sort of comps. I mean, like I said before, I think you'll see like Seer, and stuff like that. But I guess that would kind of answer that flex sort of role there. I think for the most part, you're going to be sticking to Valk and Gibby. I think you'll maybe see some rosters stray. I've been seeing some people stray away from Valk on World's Edge and switching out Valk for Caustic, and then they have that like beacon scanning character, which they could put in a Valk. Sometimes they do as well, if they want to maintain that rotation. So I think you could maybe see like no Valk on maybe a roster or so at LAN, but I think there's some. I wonder if there's. I don't know. I don't have the stats offhand. But I don't know. There might have been a few teams. I think everyone ran Gibby at LAN. I think. I would have loved to have seen the character composition stats, but I don't have that offhand. But I think for the most part, you're going to see mainly everyone reverting back to, like I said, that backbone comp of, Valk Gibby needed. or rotates bubbles, because the main reason like people are going to run Gibby because they don't want to make mistakes. If they do make a mistake, Gibby allows them to fix that mistake, and I think everyone's going to be focusing on that as well.
Okay, so actually, this next question does have to do with team comp, so I'm going to continue straight onto that one, so we can continue on the same topic here. So this one's actually from Feege, who we recognize. We both recognize from our chat. So his question is: with Furia starting the Valk, Seer, Maggie comp, and TSM adopting it, do you think they have an edge over teams since they have an advantage over other teams, or since with the lack of scrims they will be at a disadvantage? So will they have an edge over teams, or because of lack of scrims will they be at a disadvantage with the
That
Valkyrie or Maggie comp?
Yeah, that really that'll just solely come down to playing it. And if there's no scrim, I mean, there has been scrims as of lately. They've been running them the last like week, and I don't know what I haven't been watching too much of scrims, so I don't know what their success was with that comp. I think when I watched them yesterday a little bit, they weren't running it. Again, TSM is more than well known for to be a roster throughout time who has just in and out tried comps randomly. They'll just randomly throw things together, see if it works, and if it doesn't, they switch. Like we've seen at points where even Snipe Down was playing Wraith and Hal wasn't. We've seen situations where Reps is IGLing and Hal isn't. They're a team that's been well known to just switch everything up and try every reiteration of what they're doing to see if somehow that ceiling is able to be pushed a little bit farther. So I think if they are going to commit to that comp, they would be at a disadvantage for not having a solid amount of scrim practice, but it really depends on how they did in scrims, how they felt using it, as well as like, are they even playing it in ranked? Like, it's a character that you got to be comfortable with. I think the biggest thing about success on character comps is just understanding comfortability and knowing how to use, that comp. I think is very important.
Okay, so
Good question.
I actually have a good question from Twitch chat this time, so I'm going to use this one real quick. So for people that are trying to get better at the game, get into competitive maybe, or just improve in general, would you say they could use like a custom game to study the map and end circles? Would that be helpful and beneficial? Or do you think they should stick with the good old way of learning and just play the game and live out the matches how they go and study through that way instead?
Yeah, so that's a good question because I would say yes and no. And what I mean by that is customs could help understanding the map. Yes, because in a circumstance of understanding the map, you can just free roam around. You can turn off no ring. You can turn on no ring, and then you can just run around the map. Look for like that's what I've done before. Like I'll run around the map and just look for spots that look like they're holdable. Excuse me, that look like they're holdable in certain situations, and just learning where crevices are, ledges are, head glitches are, rat spots even. So running on customs with no ring, that would help that circumstance of just learning the map, learning where spots are and how to get there and stuff like that. That's really good. That's amazing. We've done that all the time. Even as a roster, we will go into customs together and look for Valcult rotates. Like I think I've done streams where I've even showed myself doing it where I'll bring either one of my idiot teammates, because one's in the chat, to on a customs with me. I'll Ash roll to a spot and then we Valcult to see if that's a spot that we can actually do. So that's really good to do as a team as well, because you can collectively learn things as a team. So with that being said, that side of it, that part of that question, yes, customs will help. But I think if you want to learn map knowledge as far as like rotates go and zones specifically, you got to think the zones don't close faster in customs than they do in ranked. So for that reason, if you're able to play the game ranked, you will have it takes the same amount of time. So at least you can gain more out of ranked versus just going to custom. I mean, I guess maybe if you're not doing anything, you're working and you have Apex on your second monitor and you open the game and have the ring closed and you're just AFK doing work and you're just looking over like, oh, okay, that's the zone. Whatever. Maybe like if you really want to like nail that down while gaming, like min maxing. But long story short, for learning zones, I would just play ranked or even pubs because specifically ranked. Let's say you're in a circumstance where you're in a zone that you don't know, and you die because you don't know the zone. Because you died and even like lost something out of it, like lost RP, lost the game, whatever. That moment, that zone will stick to you more. It'll be more. It'll. I can't think of a word that's like brighter. I can't think of a better word for that. But long story short, like it'll stand out more in your brain because you died there and because it costed you the game versus just sitting in a custom lobby and just watching the ring close. That's something that's helped me in competitive specifically. Like when we done scrims, if we died in a spot where I don't know the zone and I end up seeing where the zone pulls, 90% of the time, that's how I learned zones. Was just every time we die, because when I was on the original CLG roster with Wig and Noko, we died all the fucking time off drop. So I had a lot of time to learn zones, and that helped me a lot, I would say. So if you want to learn zones, I would just play ranks. If you want to just learn, understand the map, and know all the little nooks and crannies, yeah, customs is great for sure.
All right. And then, so the next question that we have is actually going to be from Prediction. It's going to be a vocal question from Josh. So if we are ready to get Josh up in here for this question.
Hello, hello.
How you doing, Josh?
Hey, Josh.
Hey, guys. So actually, this is a question that I don't think I've ever had a chance to ask you directly in our conversations. The new format for the ALGS season, where, you know, each week gives you a certain number of points and stuff like that. I've heard a lot of positive and negative feedback. What is your personal opinion on it? I know I have some of my own and have shared them with EA directly, but curious, like, what you feel is your thoughts on it, because I know it's a kind of a hit or miss and make or break.
Yeah. So I want to see if I can pull up the point distribution to see it precisely. What I will say is when that point format first came out, where you had like in the split that I played with Rambo and Noct, when it was like if you got 16th to 20th, you got 0 points. If you got 15th to 11th, you got 1. Or like, you know, like situations like that was terrible. That I hated that so much. That was such a terrible format because you would have teams who would get 7th place get the same amount of points as a team who got 6th place. So you're not like, even when you're getting into that top 10, top 5, you're not rewarding players anymore for getting that one better placement. And I thought that was just a terrible format because even so, like if you want to go a little bit of a step further, you know, back then too, 8th place to 10th place was only 2 points. I would argue that it's way better to get 8th than 10th. You know, it's you're breaking into that top 10. You know, that's a little bit better of a performance to not get top 10, but to get rewarded the same, it doesn't really reward that better performance. But like I said, that format was terrible. I do think the new format is a lot better. Again, it rewards every single placement individually. So I think that is like really good. I'm trying to find like split 2 of Pro League. Oh, here it is.
Yeah. So no, and on that point, one of the suggestions I made is because what they were trying to do with that was mimic your placements in game. So, you know, 16 to 20 in game got you 0 points unless you got a kill. So the one thing I brought up is, well, why not add kills into points? Because the main problem I had is if you got first, but by very little, had very little kills, you get the same points as somebody who literally dominated their week in like week 3, got 100 more kills. So my thought is, you know, 1 kill gets you 1 point in a standard game. So why not like 10 kills in a week get you an additional point? And it would have changed some of the minor tweaks, and it wouldn't have overall changed a lot of the standings, but it would have added some teams who play for kills, because it didn't award you for playing for kills. Your kills overall didn't matter. They mattered in that given week to get your placement for that week, but it didn't matter as a 6-week stretch. So teams would be like, well, we just need to hide, get placement points, and win, where it didn't drive the kill counts, which I think Apex is at its best when there's 10 teams going for chills and 10 teams playing for spots, because then you get a lot of weird engagements, and that's what makes it fun to watch as a viewer, not necessarily as a player, because that can be chaos. Who's coming but from a viewer standpoint, it makes it the most fun to watch when you don't know what a team's thinking when they're two sitting on top of each other in the same building or something, because one team's trying for kills and one team may not be.
Yeah, I definitely think that they've done a a better job originally, like again, moving from that old format to the new one, because I think you do get rewarded a little bit better for getting those kills. And I think Apex at its core competitiveness should be a fine balance between kills and placement. Like I feel like that's like at heart the best team in my eyes. What would be quoted as the best team would be the team that has a perfect balance between consistent placements as well as consistent kills. There's a lot of teams out there that are really good on getting kills, but they're not good on closing out on end games. There's a lot of teams that are just able to close out an end game, but not get any kills and reward because they just rotate early, sit in that zone, and get no points for that. I think that's where Apex should reward the players the most. Like it'd be really interesting to see a competitive format similar to how they did ranked, actually, where kills multiply how much RP you get based on that placement. So if you get like a really good placement, the kills multiply how many points you got for that placement. So if I was able to get like 6-7 kills but close it out at a first place, that really will multiply that amount of points that I earned for that game. So I think that like that would be a really good scenario where consistency and placement, as well as maintaining and getting kills, is what's going to reward the players consistently and the most above all. So I think really interesting to see how that would work out for some people.
Yeah, I think you'd have to increase like total points and stuff like that, where you'd have to
Yeah, that would definitely have to be like an inflated thing.
You'd have to inflate the scores, but I think that like a first place with 10 kills should be better, should not get the same amount of kill points as 15th place with 10 kills, because you obviously had to do a lot more to get your 10 kills and survive on.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can agree with that for sure. Yeah, that definitely makes sense for sure.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, guys, and the cool event, and obviously, we'll talk soon.
All right. Take care, Josh. These are the questions.
Thank you so much, Josh.
Yeah.
So before we move too far past, I do have one more question from the prediction chat. I think so. There's a team called Singularity, right?
Uh-huh.
So now that they're not a duo anymore, do you think that they're going to be able to go far, or will not much change?
Let me look into that quick. So what were their performances at? Let's tap into the performances a little bit. Group stage results. Well, I guess you said they were a duo at LAN, huh? Yeah, so I guess I can't actually look at their results too much. Elysium's one of the best in the game. I've been good friends with Besk for a long time. Is he still on that roster? Yeah, he is. I've known Besk for a long time. He's supported me, and I obviously supported him. And it was really cool to start supporting him and seeing that Brazilian community kind of start showing me support, and like they were like really excited because at that time when I started supporting him, there wasn't much of like a cross between regions of players like supporting each other. It was kind of just like you're in your own region, like cliques, sort of. So I got to know Besk a little bit, and I respect him as a player, and I support him. So I think they can do well. Who did they? Let me see exactly if I can find out who they picked up. So Elysium was the person that they picked up. Is that who that is? Join date? No, it's not. Or is it? Who's their nerve third? Or is it just someone that wasn't playing at that time? I think Arten's pretty good too. I've known about him. I think he's been in the game since like day one. He's been active since 2019. So yeah, he's been in the game for 3 years. I recognize that name. And looking at the scores, they dominated their region. I mean, to be fair, it's kind of like they were always in their own region, so it was kind of fair, or it's kind of like busted. So, bro, your girl's getting in here,
dude. What the heck, man? Spoiler alert, bro. I thought we were gonna freaking. What the heck, man? Supposed to be like a little surprise, whatever, dude. Are you ready for her?
Because they said it.
Are you ready for her?
He's already in here.
Oh, she's already in here. So Natalie, we have Natalie, ladies and gentlemen, in the chat. In our
pleasure to meet you. Hello.
Ready to ask a question.
Wow, I'm so honored to be on this call with two incredible gamers and people. My question is, so I don't know that much about the esports world, but I do want to ask, so being on a team, what is the team sort of doing to like better the players? Are they solely relying on like putting on experienced, players to kind of come into like a leadership position, or like what is the team actually doing to better the players other than just kind of letting them do their thing?
So I can't help but laugh because I see Sam laughing. But so by team, do you mean like the organization like reaching out to the players and trying to improve them? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Yeah, like
What does the
obviously
organization do for the players?
yeah, somewhat. Like, do you guys have like a coach?
Yes.
Or okay. Just kind of
So, yeah.
wondering like what that dynamic, like what are they bringing to like better you guys as players, and like for example, like how is your team doing something different than say like TSM or like these other like bigger teams?
Yeah. So that's a good question. And I think that's something that really helps a lot of teams, especially in certain circumstances, is not all organizations have a coach. I'd rather make sure that's stated as well. And that a lot of organizations don't have those resources available to them, which is unfortunate because I feel like it helps the players a lot. So for us specifically, we have a coach on. He's not a BR coach, but he kind of just oversees, us and everything that's going on. Shout out Lackland. He's basically like our mental health kind of coach is what he kind of like focuses on. So he'll do check-ins with us and make sure like mentally, are we okay? Is there anything going on? Do we need someone to just talk to and vent about things and get some kind of life advice? He'll go over nutrition stuff with us, looking into bettering our life off the game. What can we be doing to maintain and keep ourselves motivated, feeling good, mentally good, like in a good spot. So we have access to those resources. And even if he doesn't have access to those resources and doesn't know about it, he has other people in that coaching kind of space that he can get that information from as well. But that is something as us as Renegades we have access to. And like I said, not everyone has access to that. So yeah, so you definitely will have always someone, and in some circumstance you'll have like, and that's the other thing that I like about Renegades as well, because you have not only just this specific person like working for that role, like you'll even have the GM, and the owners and stuff like that. They will reach out and ask you those same sort of questions, like, "Are you okay? How are you doing? How are you guys feeling? Are you looking forward to anything? What's going on? Can I be there?
So,
can I help?"
Yeah, just to cut you off really quick, sorry.
You're good.
But so sorry. So
okay.
just to like compare to like I guess like the biggest teams right now, what do you think they're implementing that might be different? Like what do you think they're really adding to make them better teams other than maybe just having more money to work with? Like what do you think they would be like adding to their players?
Yeah, so I know some circumstances you'll have like Team Liquid, they'll have like an actual specific coach for the roster, like a BR designated Apex coach, like Hotzik. And what he basically does for that team is he will study other teams for them, provide input on what those teams are doing, how they function, what they do, how they play. He will study other things for them, like zones, character comps. He will VOD review everything for them, take viable notes that they might not have been able to take away from that. And that's something that some coaches will be able, like some specific Apex design coaches will be able to do from the players, which allows, it helps a lot because then the players don't have to do it. They can focus more so on just improving their individual game. Those back end things will be done for them, because I will say personally, those are very time consuming things to VOD review, get the team together, talk it through, watch what other teams are doing, learn. Like that's a lot of, it's like just as much as playing the game. So coaches can kind of take that edge off and just give you like a short, quick summary and feed you that information. It's kind of like a cheat code, really. So it's really good to have. If it's really nice to have, I should say, if people have access to those resources.
Cool. Well, that was my only question. That was it.
Well,
Okay.
Thank you, Natalie.
Well,
thank
thanks
you
for
so
joining
much.
that. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Actually, I think having a mental health coach is really huge, because you've seen it in the past where some players' mental health really affected the team in a major way. So I think that was a great question. I think mental health coaches are a huge thing when it comes to gaming, because when you dedicate your life to a video game, you forget to take care of yourself, I think, in a lot of cases.
For sure.
So
that was a good question. Shout out Sam's girlfriend.
Shout out my fiance. Fiance. There's a ring on that
what?
thing. Okay?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Don't say ring pop. Okay, anyway. We got our next question is actually gonna be from C4 Mailman, who's a huge supporter in both of our channels.
Boy!
a long-time supporter in both of our channels. So we got C4 Mailman with a vocal question, with a voice question. I don't know why I'm saying that, but
A
I
vocal
said it
question.
already.
I think
So.
it's because I said it earlier, and you're just like,
Did you? Dang, I don't
I
know.
did. I don't know why, but I did.
But C4 Mailman, is he? Do we have him working? I heard that we had his voice working, but I don't see him
He's in here.
speaking. I see him in here, but he's not saying anything.
Oh, we had to give him a chance. I was hoping you would give him a chance. Yeah, I was waiting for a little bit of pause. Yes, might be busted. But...
Nope, I think his stuff might be a little broken. I think. Do we know his question? I don't know. No, I don't think we know his question. So,
we can just go to his Twitch channel in a bit.
Yeah, we can.
This
While
fun.
we fix. While
yeah,
we
Mailman's
fix,
actually trolling.
Yeah, Mailman is trolling currently. So Feckler, we actually did talk about Singularity earlier. So I'm not sure if we should go back to that.
No, we don't have to.
So I'm going to ask you a quick question while we fix Mailman's troll. How has being an IGL changed from when you first started to today? Like when you first started playing competitively, being an IGL.
Yeah, so I think that dynamic has really changed a lot. Back with being an IGL, like when I was performing really well, and I've talked about this on several occasions, where teams who performed, all they had to know was zones and reaction time. You know what I mean? That's it. Like those things helped you. Just had to be a leader, being an effective leader, and just knowing zones and just getting there. That was it. Like I would just prioritize zone rotations over every other team, and I got an end game every single game, and it just was easy. Now that dynamic's a lot more changed. Teams have caught on. The game has evolved. That average skill ceiling of each player has gotten extremely high. So in most circumstances, sorry, you cannot just rotate to any zone that you want to. It actually requires the ability to accept that you're not going to get a god spot, accept that you're not going to get the best spot in the game, and just learn how to play around the spots that are already all taken. And learning how to play edge and call edge when you're not able to get into a good spot is something that I think is really made or break rosters and their IGL roles at this point. So I would say it's not so much that the IGLs have changed. It's more so the dynamic of how the game is played has changed drastically. That's sick.
That's really good timing. TK, type your question real quick, and we'll go to Sloss right now. How do you feel about the future of the game as far as developers and the communication between Respawn and the community regarding ranked changes, weapons in and out of care packs, shadow nerfing loot pools and POIs, etc.? Where is the game going?
Wow. I mean, that's like good. like people, it kind of sucks. This is like really messed up to say, but it's people don't see everything because they're casuals, and like there is a lot of actual ongoing communication that goes on between the developers and the players, mainly from an org perspective. Like you were hearing Josh talk about it a little bit earlier. There is ongoing conversations that go on between EA and organizations, basically almost daily, providing input on what the game could be doing better for the organizations, what the game could be doing better as far as fixing things, because the players kind of report to the orgs and the orgs kind of report to EA. Or if you're a little bit bigger and have that kind of connection established, you can really the players can sometimes just talk to the devs themselves and provide that feedback, mainly if it's constructive. So with that being said, there is communication that does exist between devs and the players. It just doesn't get seen by casual players and some of your content creators on Twitch, right? So that's why that kind of narrative kind of gets created from. So there is communication that goes on. I think it's a very hard thing to talk about, and it's a very hard thing to figure out and like really provide a solid answer, because you got to also understand, like, pro players, while this game is a competitive game, it is not what's making them money, right? Competitive is solely an investment as far as advertising goes. I'm sure I obviously we know EA is doing everything, like how do I want to word this? Like we know EA has a lot of money, right? And we know they have a lot of other platforms other than just Apex, and they're providing, like as you see, these $2 million prize pools. And I think that I don't know if they did it for champs. Not sure. I don't know if they did it for every team, but I heard that they did a thing where like the top 20 teams or whatever, or something like that got, EA paid for all of their travel funds and everything like that for LAN. You know what I mean? Um, so like I said, there's a lot of things that they do that kind of goes unseen. There's a lot of things that they don't do too well that does unfortunately get seen. And that's the unfortunate thing that's very common in just the world as is. Positive things usually go unnoticed. Negative things are usually something that gets lifted up into the light a lot more. And that's kind of like the narrative that happens with all these video games, right? People are easier to, put someone down than praise them for their work. That's just how the world is, unfortunately. But
Yep.
with that being said, there's a lot of steps, there's a lot of things that go into hand. And it's also important to send, like I said, EA is investing a lot of money in the game. While they have a lot of money and they're making a lot of money, they aren't really making a lot of profit from competitive more than just advertising. Competitiveness in a game is basically solely advertising. It's advertising into, grow a game. That's what it is. That's how it works. And people who love esports. So with that being said, there has to be like as much as it hurts me because I am a competitive and pro player, there has to be a line between doing what's right for a pro and doing what's right for generating revenue for a game. And I feel like that's where kind of Fortnite went wrong, in my opinion, because me and Sam used to play Fortnite all the time. We actually like scrim together. That's when I actually used to scrim and stuff like that. And me and Sam did that together. And Fortnite back then was actually a lot of fun. Like I loved it. I played it as much as I play Apex, like every day. But Fortnite got to this point where it was just all about like this hyper building crazy crap. You had people like Booga, whatever. Everyone built like that. I remember in Fortnite, you would build like a stair and then the wall below, and you had a fortress. You'd be able to kill a whole team. Now it's like you're spinning 90s all the time up. So once it got to that kind of meta, that's when the game kind of died out and got boring for me. And that's where I feel like they went too much on that casual side because they made building so easy and so accessible that everyone was able to do it. And that was appealing to that casual scene a little bit too hard, and it killed the game for me at least. Obviously, Fortnite's not dead, but I would argue it's not as popular as it was, when Ninja was blowing up and everything of those sorts. So I think there just has to be a fine line between determining, what's our goal here. Working between appealing to the casuals and appealing to the comp scene.
All right, and now we have TK is old in this call as we speak. TK, can you hear me?
Yep.
Can I hear you? Is the real question.
So my question for the Mad Madness himself is, who is your biggest rival in the Apex scene?
Ooh.
As far as like who's like the most difficult to go against or what?
I mean, it could be that, or like,
Or you just want to know who I hate, don't you?
Yeah, who do you hate?
Who are we beefing with right now?
Ooh. Oh, we're actually about to start some drama on this crowd. What the hell? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go on a limb and say I respect every player in the pro scene.
Oh wow.
Every player in the pro scene is amazing. They deserve lots of love. I have no beef against any single player in the game. I think everyone's deserving. I think everyone deserves a chance, and it's great. So I actually have no beef with anyone. So
okay.
Humble.
Okay, who's the hardest? Who's your biggest competitor? Then we'll say that.
Hey Liam, can you hear me?
Oh, but I can hear you.
We can hear
okay.
you.
All right, this is okay. Love you guys. We'll see you later.
Okay. Well,
I'm reformed, so I can't say anything negative. You know what I mean? So I would definitely say
then.
I would definitely say Optic is probably the hardest team. I think just from experience, I think Optic is probably the hardest team to beat on a straight 3v3. And above that, I think that they're just like insane. Like they just know where to place themselves always. Each individual player, which is an extremely hard talent to have, because you have an IGL who can tell you where to go. But I think every player on that team, Noct, Dupe, and Skittles, they all individually know where to place themselves almost in every single circumstance, which is incredibly key to how successful they've been. And especially in knowing where to place themselves in relation to their team, where their teammates are at as well is key. You know, not far enough to where you can get an off angle, but not far enough where you can't regroup immediately. You know, things like that are very key in success in taking fights and positioning. So I definitely think because Optic is one of the best positionally aware teams, and as well as just very strong team fighting, I would argue that they're probably the most difficult team, not only just for me to beat, but just really for anyone. I would argue.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks
Well,
for joining,
thank
TK. It's
you.
good to see you, bro. I
Thank you
appreciate
so
you stopping
much.
in. It means a lot.
Yeah, of
It
course.
was a pleasure.
All right, take care, buddy.
So we have C4 Mailman.
Oh, do we?
We have two of them now. There's two separate C4 Mailmen. So
Maybe he did
let's-
join on his phone.
C4,
Hold on, it shows him as muted.
and we hear him.
You hear me?
Yeah!
Yes, there
Yo,
we go.
dude!
Yeah!
Oh, wait. I gotta put on my
Dude.
I gotta put on my radio voice. Hold on. Hello, gentlemen. How you doing today?
Good,
Yeah, what's
Mailman.
up,
How
bro?
are you doing?
Good. So let me pull up my notepad. All right. So out of all of your competitive like expertise, which map was your favorite of all of Apex?
For competitive?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I feel like I did. I feel like my background was always like World's Edge is the best comp like map. But I've really come, especially with like scrimming on it and playing on it a lot more. I've really come to enjoy Storm Point. Like, I feel like there's so much outplayability. There's so many more spots. There's so much unpredictability to it. And plus, it's something new. The thing that I really do not like about World's Edge, although I know the map well, I think the hardest thing to deal with World's Edge is that the fact that every spot has a team there. They've been there for months, they've been there for years. And if you want to change a spot, it's not going to be easy. It's probably going to take a long time. They're not going to give it up. You know, everything's kind of like set in stone. If you don't have a spot in World's Edge, you're kind of screwed. You know, everyone has their spot. It's always like this team here, this team there, and you don't mess with that team, whatever. So I that's what I don't like. I still feel like Storm Point is still new. There's still opportunity to fight for a new spot, kind of change. And above all, there's just way more loot. You know, I'm walking at a tree triple white with no heals, and you know, I land wall, unfortunately, with Sykes, and we walk out with purples, plenty of heals, and you know, at least we have a loot. So that's a really nice dynamic to have. It's the game's a lot more fun when you actually have loot. I think personally. So
Do you like the two map structure, like splitting?
I definitely don't think that's bad. I think it's good and bad actually. I think it's good because it provides a variety for a viewer. They're not just watching the same game, the same map all the time. They're not just watching the same sort of things, right? So with that being said, I think on the viewer standpoint, it's good. From a player perspective, I don't think it's as good because let's say, for example, like it's like there's other tournaments that have done NA and EU tournaments combined, right? So it's kind of the same sort of premise. And what I mean by that is like, let's say you have like 3 games on World's Edge, right? And those are all like South Poles and you land North and you're screwed on zones. You get terrible zones on the 3 maps. You don't have like 3 more games on that same map to hopefully get a good zone pool that you can play off of, right? Whereas, and then you switch to the other map and maybe you get screwed on zone pools again because it's a fresh map. You know, you might not get the zones again. So I think that's why it's kind of like a negative thing for the players. But I truthfully don't mind it at all. I kind of enjoyed the split. It provides a new opportunity, a learning opportunity. Again, that's why I like Storm Point. It's a new map. It's new learning opportunities, like new spots. It's just fresh. You know, it's fresh and new. But
Yeah. So I'm seeing I'm Sykesness in chat right now. Speaking of
Real.
which, how necessary are controller players for today's comp and rank?
well, Sykes isn't necessary at all. He's definitely easily replaceable.
Okay.
But
yeah, makes
I would
sense.
definitely argue, yeah,
I
you
can
need
feel
a you need a controller player on your team for sure. Like 1 or 2. No, like the way the game's changed and the way the game's played, it's like I think you can still be a top heavy team and perform well. Triple MK, you know, look at Energy, look at, I would say Sentinels, but that's just not true. But look at Energy, and you know they're one of the few triple MK teams that are able to still perform. You know, so it's while it's rare, it's still possible. But I think it's a lot easier, and I would say yeah, you need at least one controller player on your team for sure.
Okay, so how important is like a healthy living, like diet, working out, everything like that for competitive play and streaming in general?
Yeah, so oh my, this is something that I've learned and neglected all at the same time, so it's very quickly grown on me how much it can affect things negatively. It's helped a lot. You know, there I remember when I first started working out for the first time and experiencing what it's like to lift a weight and like having that soreness. I felt so like energized all the time and my gameplay just felt nuts, you know, from pushing myself and just getting out and after not doing that for so long. But it's not even just about, you know, a healthier living. It's healthier diet and healthier, you know, being active and being in the fitness. Ooh, I'm not gonna finish that one. But what?
Oh my God. That's so stupid.
But I hate that I can't say that without trying to finish the rest of it. But long story short, there's plenty of studies out there that'll prove that working out and being athletic have amazing ties to increasing mental overall wellness, and that's something that's very key in being a competitor and just in life in general, really. So I think they're very important. I think they usually go very, what's the word? Like people don't really think about it too much. People don't really realize how important a healthy quality of life outside the game is important to maintaining success and performance in game. So I would argue, yeah, it's very important.
Okay. Two more questions. So
That's
the
good.
mental, like playing mental games against other, like your opponents, do you think that's important? Like, for example, shooting dead boxes, doing squats over dead bodies, triple stacking on drop. Is that important to keep the morale of opposing teams down, much of like what Satellite mentioned earlier, or do you think that doesn't have any effect?
Wow.
I mean, yeah, it definitely affects the team negatively for sure. Because like, there's been times where we've died on contests, and it's a team we shouldn't be losing to, and they shoot boxes, and it's like, dude, you're freaking terrible. Like, why are you even shooting my box? But I mean, there's been circumstances where that mental game kind of happens naturally. You know, when Optic Gaming like 32 and 0 Sentinels, you know, they didn't like shoot their boxes all the time. They didn't, you know, like do all that kind of stuff. They would just roll them, play their game, and do well. And I think that it goes hand in hand. Like I think there's a fine like while it is a morale downer to lose a 50-50, have that team BM you, I would argue that it's just as much of a morale downer to lose a 50-50 and watch that team that killed you basically win the game, because it just proves how like good that team is, and it just like kind of cements like, hey, don't mess with us. Even with you contesting us, we can still pull out wins and stuff like that. I think that's something that's really important to the downing that morale as well, and it's definitely key too as to like winning 50-50s, because you will have someone who gets so tilted that they just crack. But it could be a double-edged sword. Sometimes if you BM boxes, people will be like, you know what, because he's being a, you know what I mean, I'm gonna keep doing it. I don't even care if we keep losing our games at this point. I'm gonna keep landing on him and just ruining his games. That's the mindset of some players in the scene and in the game, and that's the unfortunate thing that kind of like, you know, ruins it. Sykes.
Okay.
His mental's unbreakable.
Sykes quit like several tournaments. He refuses to do any tournaments because his mental is so fragile.
I
That's
heard
so sad.
he was barely top 5 in Pred.
I know. I heard he
Oh.
got top 1 for like a day.
Oh, okay. Good for him. So who's your favorite mod?
Dude, who's your favorite mod?
Oh, all right. All right. Thank you. That's all my questions for the day.
Wait,
Okay.
you're not gonna answer?
That's hard. Yeah, honestly, like I think it's anyone. I love all my mods except like all my mods. My favorite minus Scarlet for sure.
True.
But
True.
I definitely really, I really like. Mailman is definitely a solid mod because like I said earlier, and like the other day I just said it too, where just, like, very few people have supported me in and out through my career, through everything, through all the ups and downs I've had over the last few years. He's like one of the only people that have supported me throughout it. So I really appreciate you for that. Thank you.
Yeah. Very few people have supported me, period. So I appreciate you for that, mailman. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll be looking for my paycheck soon.
Oh,
bro,
okay.
Sam.
All right, yeah, we're gonna move on.
Yo, man, I love you, buddy. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming in,
Yeah,
man.
much love, guys. Yeah, keep up the good work. You guys are doing great.
Take care,
Thank you,
man.
mailman. Mailman's a goat. So now actually we're just gonna be reading Twitch chat for a little bit. We're gonna do like 4 or 5 questions from you guys, and then we're gonna call it a day. So if anyone has been holding on to a good question in Twitch chat, please, now is your time to shine. Good questions only. If it's a bad question, we will let you know, because that's what we do. So who is your favorite mod though?
I don't know.
Who's your favorite VIP?
Slash mods. Let's see.
Who's your favorite VIP?
Let me fix something.
What? Dude, I can't read chat now, bro. Oh my goodness, I can't.
Come on, Sam, you're missing the questions, dude.
I can't read chat. I just got banned. Okay, here we go. We're good.
Impact Sykes has on the team? Absolutely 0.
Negative? You think it's negative?
Yeah, actually.
Oh, okay.
That's why Pal has 0 passion.
Okay, interesting.
Do you think?
What's it like being so good at video games, Madness?
I'm not. Next question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think the state of ranked is good for the entire community or just for the pros?
Wow. Yes and no. I think while the ranked like the ranked format is good for truly a competitive like experience, I think it does not reward it does not at all reward players for being solo or duo. I think there needs to be a multiplier implemented, or at least a lower entry cost maybe for players that are solo and duo. Obviously those increments would change based on if you're solo or duo or not. But I think if you're a solo or duo player in the game, I think it punishes you even harder for being, good at the game and stuff like that. And it's a lot harder. For sure. So I like I said, I've had this conversation before. I think the rank changes are actually really good. People are just not used to it as much yet, and while it is more challenging, I think it should be. It's a ranked thing. It's pure competitiveness of the game. It's supposed to be challenging. And like we've had this conversation in my chat before, like, you look at League of Legends and something like that, getting like challenger in that game and being in that top, 0.01% or whatever it is one of the hardest things to do in that game. It is extremely hard. So much so that if you get to challenger and you're in that like top, whatever it is, 100, 200, 300, that's actually where pro teams in League of Legends will go to scout for new talent in that game. That's like how insanely hard it is to be a top player and a top ranked player in League of Legends, that like it's to where legitimate organizations will go to. They will literally go on that leaderboard, and that's where they scout for new players. Like, it's a legit thing. I've heard it so many times. And I think that like that's how it should be. It should be freaking hard. You should be rewarded for being one of the best players. The one thing I believe does need to change and should change is the fact that the RP entry cost goes up every 1,000 RP you get above master, because you will have people who are starting games at a negative 185 RP. That is insane. That means at that point and that level, you need to be getting like top 3 with like 5 kills every single game. And if you don't, you're going to lose RP. That's the only way to net profit. And that's insane to me, because while, yes, okay, if you are the number 1 predator, you should be freaking one of the best, right? Like, you should be able to do that. But you also need to understand we're playing a BR. Like, it's a RNG game. It's random. You're gonna get grief. You're gonna get ran at. You're gonna get, so many uncontrollable variables happen in this game. So to punish someone for being the best that heavily, I think is a little far. I could see maybe increasing that entry cost up to maybe like 20k RP. You know what I mean? Like, at Pred at 15k, you get like a negative entry cost every 1000 up to like 20k, and then that's where it kind of stops. I think that's something that really does need to change. I think that hurts people a lot for sure. While it's still possible to get number one because someone has to be number one, obviously. I think it's a little bit too. It's a little too much for sure.
And then I have another question. I'm going to combine two, one from Toss the Die and one from 2460 and a bunch of numbers. So Toss's question is, where do you see multiplayer gaming in 5 to 10 years? And then two's question is, do you think esports is always going to be a teen/early 20s scene, or as the scene ages, will we see people staying through their 30s and 40s? So, do you see multiplayer gaming? Where do you see multiplayer gaming in the future? And do people older in age still have a chance with competitive gaming?
Yeah, so I'm very interested to know if Toss is asking this question based off of the Shroud clip, where Shroud kind of said like he thinks multiplayer gaming or shooters, whatever, is going to be dead in like 5 to 10 years, I think, or something like that, because cheats are going to continue to evolve to a point to where they're just so undetectable, and he doesn't think anti-cheat is going to like catch up specifically, right? So I'm wondering if that's where that question's coming from. But I mean, I don't think games can change much. I really don't. Like, I don't think it's just gonna be new games. I think it's gonna be as it is now. Just everyone's playing different and newer games that have come out. I don't really know where things are gonna be at with this like VR stuff, because everyone's really saying that we're gonna slowly approach a point where everything's gonna just be like VR stuff. Well, I'd argue that's possible. I don't think that would be. I don't know. I don't know if that'd be something during our lifetime. It is actually the context. Wow. Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't know if I would agree with that. I can see where he's saying cheats are going to continue to evolve. They will continue to get better. They will continue to get more undetectable. That is true. That's how that's going to happen, for sure. But I don't know how anti-cheat's going to keep up, and if it does, whatever. I don't know. I don't think gaming will die. At least multiplayer gaming.
I don't think multiplayer gaming is going anywhere, and I'm not sure if he meant that or if he was just mad because he was getting cheated on in a game at the time that he said that.
Yeah, that's some streamers do as well.
Yeah, I've been there before. So, if you were a top 5 Predator, does this mean you're one of the best players in the game, or are you just good and you have hours upon hours to grind? And then we're gonna do one more question after this, and then we can call it.
Okay. Well, to quickly wrap up as well. Wait, hold on, because there was I still think, by the way, to just wrap up the other question, I still think that professional gaming is going to still be probably dominated by a younger audience in the future. I just because when you're younger, you have that higher reaction time. You're just more energetic. You have more energy. You're just more aware. It's just how it is. But by all means, I don't. Especially if we're approaching games with just hard controller metas, I don't think that you're going to be at fault for being a little bit older. I don't think it's going to hold you back. If anything, you'll just be a little bit more wiser and knowledgeable.
Patient, yeah.
Yeah, patient, knowledgeable, matured, understanding of situations a little bit better. But yeah, I could kind of see. I don't know. When does reaction time start to fall out? How old?
Mine's falling out right now, bro.
You've never had it.
Yeah,
true. How old do you start losing a reaction time? Age 24.
Oh, yep. There you go, dude.
I just turned 24.
It's over for you, man. I'm sorry, bro. I think it's time to dive into the virtual realm, virtual reality, competitive gaming.
Oh no.
Yep.
My career is over. I'm running out of time, boys.
Yep. I had one more question. Let me see. One more. Okay,
I don't even have a 401k.
Let's get one more good question here, chat. The best question we've ever seen right now in the chat. Right now. Best question ever.
Didn't you just ask me a question that I needed to ask?
Yeah, but then...
Sam's just skipping, bro.
No, well, you just answer this one, and then we'll do the next one.
Yeah, with TKs you asked as well.
Okay,
Top 5
yeah,
predators
was...
just mean you're one of the best players gamers. I mean you're just good and a grinder. Good and a grinder for sure. I think solely what determines a best player in the game is competitive. I think if you're able to hold like a top 10, rank, you're a notable player for sure. But I think all in all that, what determines a player being the best in the game is competitive. Sure.
Yep, I agree. Because I hit Master last season. Did I deserve Master? No. Absolutely not. Would I be able to hit Master this season? Absolutely not. So, I feel like ranked and Apex, the way that they have it set up is kind of more about time sacrifice instead of like actual skill. Because if you threw me in like a scrim, I wouldn't touch anybody. So I agree with I'm Madness in this situation. All right. So Madness, actually, I kind of want you to choose what the best question is coming from the chat this time.
Is it just because you can't see?
No. I can see just fine.
Got it. Now I feel bad. That's a drop. Who do you think some of the best players in comp? I think that's hard. Like I love and hate. Like I love questions, but I hate that question so much. Like, who do you think the best players in comp are? Like, it's hard. It's so hard to say because there's no competitive right now. There's like nothing going on. So it's hard to say like who's keeping up. Who's playing, because a lot of people aren't like streaming, so you don't know who's maintaining their grind. You don't know who's maintaining that work ethic because it's off time. There's no tournaments. There's barely any scrims, right? And it's really hard because if you look at it, we've had like a 2-month break. We've had a 2-month break, honestly.
Okay. So I actually just received the best question ever. Now that your reaction time is deteriorating and it's all over because you're 24, what are your plans for real now? What are your plans for after Apex? Do you have any idea where you want to go, what you want to do actually when you're done being a competitive Apex player?
Yeah. It's actually a funny question because I think Sam hears me talk about this every freaking day, honestly.
Yep, true.
I mean, I think
OnlyFans.
Yeah. I think ultimately, like I said, I need to really start working on, and I'm really looking to start working on creating content, because content creation and just playing games is something that I will always love. I have the opportunity to make a living in a space of creators and playing video games, and that's something that I want to be a part of forever. I'd rather not go get a 9-to-5 job, to be honest. It's just not something that I think is in the cards for me. I mean, if it comes to that, it is what it is. I'll go finish, college and then get like a job. But having to be able to do this full time for 4 years now straight is something that I incredibly value, and I want to continue to do that post Apex competitive. And yeah, I mean, just working on content, like that's just what I want to do the rest of my life. So I think that's just kind of the plan. The plan is just ride out competitive, continue growing my brand, and really just sending it home and growing as much as I possibly can, so that way when I do stop playing this game professionally, that I have a comfortable, solid audience that will continue to support me after that. That's the ultimate goal. That's what got me into competitive. I didn't want to get into competitive the way I did. When I was originally just doing content, and the way I got into the pro scene is because I just knew people. Unfortunately, that's the way of the world. Everything getting into high tier things is just knowing people. That's how it goes, right? And I just played with Noko and Wig, and I was just doing content back then. I was just a good player who grinded content, and they both wanted me to be on the COG roster, and then that's how I got into the pro scene. It wasn't planned, but my heart will always be in content creation. That's just the reality I've accepted, and just you know, I just right now I enjoy competitive. I think it's fun. I think it's an awesome experience, especially LAN. That's something that I want to continue experiencing. How many experiences? I think I've had four LAN experiences. We had X Games, Poland, TwitchCon, and at Esports Arena in Las Vegas. Those are the four LAN events that I've been to. And they're an amazing experience, and it's something that I definitely want to continue to experience before I really call it, retirement. So, that's just kind of the plans for the future, I would say.
That's good. I think going into content creation is going to be like the best option for any pro player because it's probably more long lasting, because if all you do is try to just be a competitive player your whole life, it's not, I don't think that's very sustainable. But I received a question. I answered it in chat because this is not about me. So that's all of our questions. And thank you everybody so much for coming. We appreciate you. Shout out to Prediction. We're getting ready for ALGS Championship. So everybody stay tuned. Keep getting involved. Stay involved with everything that's going on. We appreciate you guys coming so much and being a part of this. Everyone that bought tickets, everyone that was asking questions in chat, and Prediction especially. Shout out those guys. I was very honored to be a part of it. And thank you, Madness, for choosing me to be suggesting me to be the host.
Yeah. Yeah, just to reinstate it again, thank you for Prediction for hosting the event. Thank you to everyone in my community and overall who bought tickets. It really helps out me and Renegades, as well as obviously Prediction. And thank you for Renegades as well for helping get this together. They helped provide me the opportunity. So thank you guys all for being here, and for those that showed up, we really appreciate it.
Yep, and I hope we get to do more of these in the future.
Oh yeah. All right, we're gonna probably hop out of here. Take care, everyone. I'll see you guys in a few hours. I'll probably be streaming a bit. So take care, everybody. I'll see you guys in a few hours.